fire consumes. It devours wood, turning solid matter into smoke, heat, and light. But does the fire truly destroy the wood? Or does it simply change it? The heat doesn't disappear, it spreads. It warms your skin, transfers into the air, radiates into the universe itself. Even the tiniest fraction of that warmth will forever exist, a part of you, a part of everything. And yet, even the ashes remain. Nothing is ever truly gone. It only changes. So, what happens when we die?
Nothing truly vanishes. It only shifts. Heat, light, energy. The fire is gone, but its mark remains. So what happens when we die? What happens to our energy? This isn't just theory. It was 1975, and a man undergoing surgery would soon become the center of an impossible story. His heart had stopped, flatlining for nearly 2 minutes. But later, when he woke up, he described something chilling. He said he saw the room from above. He watched the surgeon's work. He noticed details no patient should ever know. He described a metal plate attached to the overhead light, something completely hidden from view. And then he repeated something that shook the doctors. A joke. A joke that was spoken in that room while he was clinically dead. Stories like this have been told for centuries. People who died, yet somehow knew things they shouldn't. Some say it's just the brain's final flicker. Others believe something more is at play. But what if we could measure it? What if, at the precise moment of death, we could see the soul leaving the body? Over 100 years ago, one doctor believed he could. In 1907, Dr. Duncan McDougall devised an experiment. He believed that if humans had souls, they must have weight, and that weight would leave the body at the exact moment of death. His patients, terminally ill, were placed on precise scales before they took their final breath. And when they died, something strange happened. Each time, at the exact second of death, the weight dropped by 21 grams. A weight that could not be explained. Dr. McDougall believed this weight was the soul leaving the body. Skeptics dismissed his findings. They called it human error, a trick of the scales. But even today, modern science struggles to explain what truly happens in that final moment. Because if energy never dies, and if something vanishes at the exact moment of death, then we have to ask, where does it go? If Dr. McDougall's experiment was just an error, why hasn't anyone repeated it? Why, after more than a century, has modern science avoided answering the question, does something leave the body when we die? Think about it. Science is built on replication. If a study finds something shocking, the next step is to test it again. But instead of repeating the experiment, the 21-gram study was buried. They called it flawed methodology. They dismissed it as bad science. And yet, no one dared to prove him wrong. Could it be because they couldn't? Officially, science tells us it's an ethical issue. Measuring death in a controlled experiment? That's immoral, they say. But let's be honest, science has never had a problem crossing ethical lines before. MK-Ultra, LSD mind control tests without consent, Tuskegee syphilis study, doctors watched men die without treatment just to study disease progression. Project 4.1, US government exposed Marshall Islanders to radiation without their knowledge. Sleep deprivation, lobotomies, forced sterilization experiments. They had no problem experimenting on people when it suited them, so why is this where they suddenly draw the line? Is it really about ethics, or is it because proving a soul exists would tear science apart at its foundation? So, why science can't go there? The entire structure of modern science is built on materialism, the belief that only physical matter exists. If something non-physical, a soul, energy, or consciousness, can exist beyond the body, then science has been wrong about reality itself. Think about it. Science can explain the heart, the brain, the body, but the mind, consciousness, the thing that makes you, No scientist can fully explain what it is or where it comes from. So what happens if we prove that something leaves at the moment of death? What if that 21 grams is real? If energy never disappears, where does our energy go? Could it be that science isn't ready for the answer? If the 21-gram experiment was repeated and proven true, what would happen? Religions across the world would claim victory. Atheists would be forced to question everything. And science, the very foundation of logic and reason, would have to admit it has no explanation. If a soul is real, if something leaves us when we die, then what else is science wrong about? What if they already know the truth and they've chosen to hide it? The truth is, there have been modern attempts to measure what happens at the moment of death, but they never make headlines. 2001, Russian scientist Dr. Konstantin Korotkov used bioelectrographic imaging, GDV, to capture energy leaving a dying person's body. Claimed to see a blue burst of energy dissipating minutes after death. Conclusion: something leaves. But what? 2014, Aware study. Dr. Sam Parnia, one of the largest studies on consciousness after death, found multiple cases of patients recalling events during clinical death with no brain activity. Parnia's conclusion: consciousness does not immediately disappear after death. Electromagnetic field, EMF experiments. Some scientists believe the human body emits an energy signature that changes at death. Could ghosts be fragments of that energy, lingering in space? In the quiet English village of Borley stood a house that would become infamous, Borley Rectory. Built in 1862, it quickly gained a reputation as the most haunted house in England. The first signs of unease began with unexplained footsteps echoing through its halls. By 1900, sightings escalated. A phantom nun gliding through the garden, a headless horseman riding by, and objects moving of their own accord. In 1929, famed paranormal researcher Harry Price visited the rectory. During his investigation, mysterious writings appeared on walls, and objects were hurled across rooms without any visible cause. Witnesses reported seeing a ghostly nun believed to be the spirit of a woman who had broken her vows. The hauntings culminated in 1939 when a new owner accidentally overturned an oil lamp, leading to a fire that destroyed the rectory. Even as flames consumed the building, onlookers claimed to see spectral figures in the windows. Skeptics have offered various explanations, from natural phenomena to deliberate hoaxes. Yet, the numerous eyewitness accounts and the consistency of the reports over decades leave a lingering question. Was Borley Rectory merely a house with creaky floors and drafts, or did it stand as a genuine portal to the unknown? For centuries, science has dismissed the soul as religious fantasy, but the deeper we look into the fabric of reality, the more we find cracks in that assumption. And those cracks may reveal that the soul is real. Does the soul exist in a higher dimension? In classical physics, the mind and body are one, but in quantum mechanics, particles don't behave the way we expect. They exist in multiple states at once, appear and disappear, and seem to be connected beyond time and space. Some scientists propose that our consciousness, our soul, exists not inside the body, but in a dimension beyond what we can see. Could this explain why near-death experiences feel so vivid? Why some people claim to have left their bodies? Maybe they weren't hallucinating. Maybe they were touching another dimension. Quantum consciousness. Is your soul more than just a brain? In 2014, physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Dr. Stuart Hameroff proposed a radical idea. Consciousness isn't produced by the brain. Instead, it's a quantum field that exists in the universe itself. Your thoughts, memories, emotions, they don't die when your brain does. They return to the quantum fabric of reality. In other words, your soul doesn't vanish. It simply moves elsewhere. The 21 grams, quantum fields, and the energy of the dead. Dr. Duncan McDougall measured the weight of the soul. Dr. Konstantin Korotkov measured energy leaving the body at death. Quantum physics suggests that information is never lost. If all energy persists, if consciousness itself exists at a quantum level, then science has already proven what spirituality has told us for centuries. Death is not the end. Maybe ghosts are not echoes of another dimension. Maybe they are exactly what we always believed they were. Souls that refuse to leave. Science tells us energy never dies, that consciousness may exist beyond our bodies, that something leaves us when we die. Maybe ghosts are not science fiction, but science itself, waiting to be understood.